Hello, Savannah, and welcome to another edition of Kandily Kesha. We are so happy to be with you tonight. Another Monday. What a great way to start the week. Listen, I am humbled to offer commemorative honor to the lives lost and the families who are survivors of those individuals from the 9/11 travesty that occurred. This year we are uh, upon the 20th year anniversary, and we know that the over 3,000 lives lost uh, equate to hundreds of birthdays, anniversaries, and all kinds of celebrations that these families will not be able to have. And so here in Chatham County, we were grateful to have been invited to celebrate Chatham County honors the fallen heroes and sheroes and the citizens of the 9/11 travesty in New York City at the Bible Baptist Church on Sunday. There, I was also excited to have had the opportunity to meet one of the original African American police officers of Savannah, Mr. John White. And we are featuring and hearing so much about him lately because he is the last living officer of the original nine. He is 96 years old. And so we continue to honor his work and his legacy. And despite the many, many years ago, it's unfortunate that we are still recognizing individuals for being the first African American or the first woman in various capacities. Soon, we will not have to identify our arrival in that way, but until we commence there, we will continue to honor those individuals who are so deserving. We want to give a couple of highlights of the latest, not necessarily the greatest, that's going on under the Gold Dome of Savannah. And that's inclusive of a highlight we gave on our Facebook Live. If you did not see it, you may want to go back and view my live feed from Clearview on the west side. Clearview is a housing development off of Bay Street that is yet another development, another community being forced out. Forced displacement is how we identify it. And that seems to be the theme of this administration. The previous administration was plagued by a lot of development and bonding of hotels and big business, if you will. But this administration seems to be plagued by those decisions of the majority, which I am not a part of, who are continuously and consistently giving approvals for development in areas that will serve as a deficiency to pre-existing neighborhoods and communities without any community benefit or without any protection when it comes to their communities maintaining its harmony. And so in Clearview, we have a situation where a group called Cardinal Capital Management, in partnership with Sylvester Forming, will be displacing nearly 70 people, up to 30 individual residents there. These are individuals who have been living there for anywhere from 2 to 35 years. They are paying rent that approximates to $375 to $675, and they have been given until October 31st to vacate the premises. And anyone who lives in Savannah know that these people will be hard pressed to find any place in Savannah worthy of living between $375 and $675 a month. And so approximately 400 proposed apartments under the guise of workforce housing and market rent apartments will be planned for that development. It's a perfect stone's throw from downtown. So in my mind, it's just another opportunity to sort of bridge the divide between the West Side corridor and downtown Savannah, just as we have the encroachment with the Weeping Time property. So we see these consistent themes also with property out in West Chatham. While it's not in the city of Savannah, for whatever reason, the city of Savannah alderpersons give approvals to these developers to annex the property into Savannah, as well as to subsequently develop the property. And so if you live in the Little Neck corridors near the landfill, Little Neck Road, you should know that a meeting is planned for September 24th at 6:30 p.m. To get information regarding what the residents will view as an encroachment to their everyday life and to their properties. This meeting will be held at Stell Park on Friday, September 24th at 6:30 p.m. And it is important that anyone who lives, so like, share, and send this information to anyone you know, or if you may live in a Little Neck area off of Little Neck Road area off of Ogeechee Road, or anywhere near the landfill that's out there. Carrie Bieber is the leader of the organization there, and she has been working tirelessly to get people to weigh in and allow their voices to be heard, because this community has been ignored for a number of years. We are also concerned about this area because there are canals there. There's also wetlands, as well as saltwater marshes and freshwater. And so we are concerned about the environmental implications that there may be as a result of these developments as well. And so they are planning in this area 332 single family homes, 594 multifamily homes, as well as 140 townhouses and more than 25 acres of institutional and office development. And 10 acres will be dedicated to commercial. And it's, there's already issues with traffic and everything else in that area, and people have really not been responded to. So if we are going to do all of this with this development, even if it's planned for over a period of years, we have to start responding to those things that will help, not things, but policies that will protect the pre-existing properties, as well as making sure that the infrastructure, police and fire service, recreational services, libraries, all those pieces that these new people will need, and that they will be essentially taken away from the people who are already there. So pay attention, Savannah. Again, it's unfortunate that this council seems to be plagued by the approvals of forced displacement, essentially, is what has been done here. We're looking at the same thing happening to the Yamacraw area, Caton Homes, as well as Frazier Homes. And again, we know what has happened to the Weeping Time property, and we're so grateful to the dutifulness and tenacity of the Weeping Time Coalition for keeping with their advocacy and continuing to try to fight for that property. Further, we want to talk about the arrival of our new city manager, Mr. Jay Melder. We are excited about his arrival, and I have been quoted as saying he is our only hope, or our last hope, and I still stand by that. And what I mean by that is not that he is the end all be all and have all the answers, but I believe that it is only through his ability to stand up to the establishment, resist the tyrannical management style of the leadership of our administration, i.e. the mayor, as well as stick to the core of what the citizens of Savannah desire, and not necessarily what those who have been taking all for the longest time desire. So we are continuously working with groups and supporting groups who are petitioning institutionals like the Savannah College of Art and Design to pay their fair share, as well as the Savannah ports and our tourism industry. So these are some heavy hitter things that we say out loud because we mean it. And so if you are a part of our county government, our city government, or our state government, we want you to know those things that are important to the citizens that we represent. And for those individuals who find what I say out loud problematic, undoubtedly you are not in need of what I am advocating for, and or you are not in commune, or you are not in you're not connected with someone, or you don't care about anyone who may need what we are advocating for and fighting for, and that's perfectly okay. And so we want you to continue to um, uh, voice or announce your disappointment or your lack of approval in whatever way you see fit, whether it's a Facebook post or a salacious news story like Adam Van Brimmer can do so well. However you do it, we encourage you to keep doing it. Just don't stop me from doing what I'm doing, or don't try to block me from doing what I'm doing, because essentially what I am doing is what I stated I was going to do on the 2019 campaign trail, when we stated that we were going to advocate for the citizens of Savannah. We stated that we were going to be a voice for the voiceless. We stated that we were going to stand up, and speak out. And we indicated that we were more inclined to become policy driven and change those policies so that we could effectuate the change that we need. So, with all of that said, I want to also take a moment of personal privilege just to acknowledge that we are, we don't want to give too much attention to the Savannah Morning News, but there is a reporter named Katie who contacted me last week a couple of times. Once via email, then text, and then text, phone call, and email. And they wanted a comment about my opinion of Mr. Melder's arrival and what it was that I wanted to see. Well, I had already given them a comment, and so I was not inclined to comment again. I can't help, because they have such slow news days where they can't find anything else to report on that could actually be beneficial to our community. And for whatever reason, they have considered me clickbait. That means when my name or my face is on the internet, people are more inclined to click on it for whatever reason. I just want them to give me some of the resources they're getting from it. So this is for the, let's see how I can say this here. Where is it? This is for the 5 people who are still recipients of the Savannah Morning News, and maybe the 10 people who have an online subscription. Yeah, I'm hearing every day more and more people canceling their subscription because it's a non-integral paper. And so I basically expressed to Katie that I was not inclined to give her a comment, simply because, and I want you all to like, share this right now with anybody who you may know who still subscribes or advertises with Savannah Morning News, because people should hear this. They should know this. And then we're going to get into our special guest, because that's what's most important to me. But because this is my show, and I think I have more listenership than they have readership, we're going to do this. I thank Katie for reaching out to me, and I declined giving her a comment, and that the last time I extended myself to her, I did so exclusively, and excerpts from that interview subsequently ended in a hit piece that Adam Van Brimmer calls his opinion page, whereby his incompetent, racist, bigoted, non-journalistic integrity self basically took my words, twisted them, and put it into something that it wasn't, right? Okay, fine. Adam is a liar who lacks journalistic integrity and talent, and he cannot be trusted. We know this. We know that he is no good for Greater Savannah. We know that that paper, when it comes to Black and brown people in leadership, or even white people or any person really who goes against the grain in the establishment, we know that they try to frame the narrative in a way that diminishes their value, or they seek to tear them down. We get it. We got it. We got the MO. Remember, nobody trusts you anymore. You endorsed all losers that nobody voted for in 2019. Gotta get a clue at some point. So we get it. We know that your dwindling paper essentially is a detriment to the city of Savannah and her citizens. We understand that. We are just waiting for you to get it and for you to understand it. And, I went on to tell Katie that behaviors exhibited by Adam and a few of the others at Savannah Morning News, Deanne Kaminsky, who essentially was moved from the beat of the municipal government because, I outed her when she acknowledged to me that she was raised as a racist. And I told her that that's basically where a lot of her drive and slant of her stories came from. It shows that you were raised by racists. I get it. I got it. And I went on to further say to them that a lot of what they do to people on our council, the few of us, the three of us who do not buy into the status quo and to the establishment, the few of us who basically are doing what we said we were going to do, I regret that it's their intent, along with television media as well, to highlight the most marginalized individuals on council, make them out to be these fake heroes, but they cast aspersion on those of us who are really sticking to what it is we said we were going to do. And they focus more on the interpersonal relations than the actual meat and facts of what it is that we do. So I stated that a lot of what they do and how they do it goes unchecked. And our city attorney, for full disclosure, he, Bates Lovett, should be more diligent in diffusing and disputing a lot of what the media does when we're concerned, when he knows the truth. But for whatever reason, he doesn't do that, at least not for myself. And I'm disappointed in that, but I can't really expect much more from his office when they kind of have adulterers working on staff. So where integrity and ethical standards are concerned, I get it. They don't have it either. I get that. And so I went on to call them out on their damaging rhetoric and propaganda where I was concerned, and just said that I wanted to take the opportunity to set the record straight. And I complimented the young woman. I stated to her that she strikes me as a reasonable and capable person, but it was my hope that she would resist assimilating into the culture of Savannah Morning News and stop providing cover for the status quo and cover for those things that really don't matter, and really provide the coverage that our community needs and deserves. And I took the opportunity to encourage their leadership, Raina Cash, who's leaving. She came in and was highlighted and featured as the first African-American female to lead the organization in 170-year history. You really are going to say that out loud, Savannah Morning News? The first African-American to lead the paper in 170-year history? That says a lot. And that's why you are quickly and have quickly lost your integrity. And it's no wonder that that first African-American female to lead the paper in 170-year history didn't last more than 12 months. She's leaving. She's gone. Because she too was called out for essentially being a cover, a beard of sorts. I would imagine that it cost her a lot of sleepless nights seeing African-American women who look like her be tore down unfairly. What could she do about it? She had to pay her bills, right? So, we want to continuously remind them that the the fake, highlights of featuring one or two African Americans here and there. You'll feature a black face here or have a black face, do a column there, and then you feature two or three African American businesses, only to turn around and tear down the political agendas of those leaders who are advocating for African American people, Hispanic people, and poor white people. It's counterproductive for you to do that. And so in short order, these people turn right around and they still quote me in an article where I denied or refused to give them a comment. You can't make this stuff up. So with that, that's my setting the record straight from the weekend. And, I need to start realizing that a lot of you probably don't even realize half of this stuff because you don't read the Savannah Morning News or you don't subscribe to it. So that'll be my last time giving them FaceTime on my show. But I just wanted to call it out for what it is because it's really damaging to me professionally and unknowing to me personally. So we want to say thanks to ATR and Mr. Julius Hall for affording us this platform to do what it is that we need to do so that we can frame the narrative and tell the story the way we want to tell it and not the way they tell it. We also want to congratulate Mr. Julius Hall for still being in the race for mayor of Fort Wentworth. He will be on the ballot in November, and we are grateful and hopeful. We're grateful for his filing for petition to Superior Court, and we are hopeful that he will come out victorious in that. So without further ado, we want to talk about the March for Justice. We have as guest tonight, Miss Attorney Mawuli Davis, along with Mr. Brooks, who is the son of Mr. Julian Lewis, who essentially was killed by a state trooper, and a grand jury refused to uphold the indictment of felony murder and aggravated assault. And we are, I just get choked up about situations like this when I know and you understand that of all of the injustices in the world when it comes to officer involved shootings, not one officer in the state of Georgia has been held accountable for taking the life of a Black man. That speaks volume. I want to also pause and just give this disclaimer in that I support our law enforcement. I was just at a ceremony that honored police officers and firefighters. We need them in their prospective places. But when they do not do their jobs and when they act in ways that are not consistent with human dignity and not taking the life of people, we have to hold them accountable. And when we have a sitting grand jury who refuses to indict an individual after the charges identified by the judge and the district attorney, we can't help but give pause and utilize our platform in a way that gives voice. And so this week, Thursday, September 16th, the march will begin in Savannah. And this essentially is a march coordinated by Mr. Bacon, Brooke Bacon, and his family members to bring attention to the fact that they want justice for the loss of their loved one. In addition, they will be marching from Savannah here to Savannah. And we want to have you share now, and like this show so that we can spread the word to as many people as we can. And for a lot of you here tonight, this is the first time you are hearing about this. And that's why it's so important that we get the word out. And again, when you hear the fact and when we acknowledge that not one police officer who has killed a Black man in the state of Georgia has been held accountable, we know that we have a problem. So I want to first bring Mr. Mawuli Davis, who is the attorney for the family. Mr. Davis is an African American centered uh, civil rights attorney, uh, human rights organizer. He's very accomplished. We don't want to take up too much time talking about all of your degrees as well as your honorary bestowments, but we do want to acknowledge that you have offices here in Savannah and Decatur and in Statesboro. And
Yes.
this is meaningful work that you are doing. Unfortunate for families like Mr. Bacon, but what can you tell us about where we are, what this is all about, and what you want to know from the public? Want the public to know, rather.
So thank you so much for having us. This is a real American tragedy. Julius Lewis, Julian Lewis was really just he was riding in his car, and a pit maneuver was performed on him by State Trooper Jacob Gordon Thompson, which resulted in his car being inoperable. Which means he couldn't turn on the lights, he couldn't do anything. This officer jumps out within 2 seconds, not 2 minutes, but 2 seconds of the taking his foot off the brake. He fires a single shot into the forehead of Mr. Julian Lewis, killing him on the scene. And Sister Kesha, what we were able to hear and watch the video, and this officer just performed. He said, "I told you to stop moving. I told you to stop moving." He has already fired the shot. I mean, it is a absolute farce of what he did on August the 7th in Sylvania, Georgia. And so this March, as we struggled with what was next after the grand jury in June in Scriven County did not indict, we struggled with what's next. And Brooke and all of us had a conversation about how do we move forward? How do we shine a bright light, not only on the death of Mr. Julian Lewis, but also all of these deaths across Georgia. And again, just try to get people to see what happened and to stand with us. And so the march is a 63-mile, 5-day march from Sylvania to Savannah to the U.S. Attorney's Office so that we can demand federal intervention in this case. And that is what is necessary. That is what is needed. And it's unfortunate that we have to go back to some of our strategies of old, but we do. And that's what we're prepared to do. That's what Brooke is here doing. And we have said, and we're very clear about it, Brooke will not march alone. So we're inviting and encouraging people to go to the website and volunteer. Go to justiceforjulianlewis.com, justiceforjulianlewis.com.
Okay, so we lost you a little bit there, Attorney Davis, but you said something that was so poignant, in that we have to now go back to times of old. And this March, Mr. Bacon, essentially is probably going to be one of the largest marches since our, what was it, the Selma March?
The
Uh,
longest, for sure.
yes.
The
Mm-hmm.
longest. It's longer than the Selma to Montgomery March.
Mm-hmm. And so, Mr. Bacon, again, there are no words that will rise to the level of being sufficient to offer condolences, especially for the brevity of how your dad's life was taken. What is it that you want people to know about your dad? Tell me something about your dad. I want you to humanize him.
He was a man of people. He was always there in support of others, um, lending a hand as he was talented with his hands, a carpenter, an electrician, and whenever there were projects around where people needed that type of assistance, he was more than one happy and gracious to lend his skills. Um, a joy to be around, soft spoken, um, but affirm. Just honest. I don't think anyone could meet him and find him to be abrasive. And unfortunately, no one will get that chance again.
And I wanted to hear those kind of words about your dad, because I think all too often when we hear of a Black man losing his life, either to gun violence on the street or at the hands of law enforcement unjustly, somehow we as a society, I feel, have become somewhat desensitized. But for those of us who have Black men in our lives, fathers, sons, Black men who we love, there isn't one of us who have a daily fear that when they leave our presence, will they come back to us? Even if they're leaving just to go to the grocery store or for a long distance trip. And so I think we have to start these conversations more when we talk about the lives that have been lost. We talk about those things that were special about our loved ones, letting people know what it was that they enjoyed. What they meant to you as a father, as a son, as a partner, in whatever capacity the relationship is. And so, can you tell us, and this may be a question for Attorney Davis, what was the nature of the stop? What caused the pit maneuver? What was justification for a pit maneuver?
There really is no justification for a pit maneuver under the circumstances. This was a broken tail light case, a broken tail light. I mean, it's absurd that you would even use a pit maneuver on someone for a broken tail light. You're behind him. You know, by now you have his tag. We believe that he was really just trying to get to a safe location where there could be some lights and not on this dark, dirty road where he could be killed, which he ultimately was. And so his concerns, Mr. Lewis's concerns, were well grounded in the fact of the dangers that accompany being a part of a police stop in America as a black, unarmed Black man. So he was not armed. There was, nothing. So there's really no reason for him to not be able to uh, spend time with Brooke and his grandchildren. There's no reason, and that's what makes this so egregious. And we think it's one of the most heinous police shootings in the history of Georgia, but in the country, because it's at point blank range, and it's just under, again, there was no basis for it.
And so we see where, despite the GBI upholding and acknowledging the charges, despite the judge upholding and acknowledging the charges, a 22-person grand jury decided not to bring forth an indictment in this case. Can you tell me, do you know of the demographic makeup of the jury? What were some of the aggravating circumstances that may have contributed to the grand jury not indicting this police officer? And let's give everybody his name. I think it was
Jacob Gordon Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Gordon Thompson. The jury makeup was 16 whites and 6 blacks. That was the grand jury makeup. Again, they rejected the GBI. They rejected the GBI's evidence investigation. This is the highest investigative body in the state of Georgia who investigated this and determined that there was probable cause for an arrest of murder. And this runaway grand jury took that information and just totally disregarded it. And so that's what is so deeply troubling about it, is because even when the highest investigative agency in the state of Georgia says this is murder, even when a superior court judge says this is murder, a group of citizens from Scriven County say, nah, we're gonna let this slide. We're gonna let this ride. It's absurd. And that's why we should all be outraged. We should be in the street, and using our bodies to press against this system, not allow this to just move in this way. And we're
And
grateful for Brooks' courage.
yes, definitely. And Attorney Davis, even more absurd is an account I was given as I was getting information leading up to our interview. Give me details of the behaviors and actions that the officer took right after the shooting that is very disturbing. I can't even say it out loud.
Oh, it's crazy. The officer, he shoots, and then he goes outside of range of his vehicle. And the first two calls that he makes are to his lawyer and to his wife. The third call is on EMS for emergency assistance. That's how, so people have to understand this is a cold-blooded murder, and the citizens, this grand jury has allowed this to stand. And that's why federal intervention is our only path forward, that the feds have to not only investigate Mr. Lewis's murder, they also have to investigate this grand jury. And we don't know what was going on in their minds, or what was going on behind these closed doors where they come out and they can't bring an indictment. I mean, it's just unheard of.
And so, outside of the demographic makeup to date, you don't have any indication or information related to what could have encouraged such a decision.
The only other thing that was done that was troubling was that the district attorney, that same grand jury, had been presented with several cases where police were justified in their actions in a chase. And so we didn't like the fact, and we think that it was an error, because they say that, again, that a DA can indict a ham sandwich. That didn't happen here. And so we think that the way that it was presented, with this grand jury who had been almost groomed with all of the other police cases before this one, just didn't go as it should have. And again, it speaks to our need for to be more engaged as a community and not let it stand.
Okay, and so Brooke, I'm gonna come back to you after I asked Attorney Davis to give us more details and information about the march from Savannah to the U.S. District Court here in Savannah. I want you to close us out again, just humanizing your father, telling us about him, the things he liked. I want you to tell us things about your father that will inspire people to come out and support you in this effort. It may be something that would resonate with the people who are listening tonight. But Attorney Davis, give us a little bit of information about the route we will take from Savannah on Thursday, September 16th, to Savannah. And how is it that because that's one of the things that you are known for also in your work is coordinating and mobilizing these efforts to bring greater attention to it, so that we are closer to justice. But tell us about the details of the march, and then ultimately tell us what you are hoping for from the U.S. District Court.
So here's how we're moving. We need everybody on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. who would like to join us to meet us at our Statesboro office in downtown Statesboro on East Main Street. And we'd like for you all to meet us there, and we're caravanning. So we'll have a van that can transport anyone that again has the ability to make this march. Essentially, these will be 5 half marathons. Is almost what we're doing. 5 half marathons. So this is about endurance. This is about a resolve um, that we just have not had to display before, but we will put on display as a collective. And so, if you want more information and you want to volunteer, just go to Julian Justice Justice for JulianLewis.com. Justice for JulianLewis.com. That's how you plug in. That's how you can volunteer. And we look forward to our brothers and sisters in Savannah, Sylvania, and everywhere in between. We want folks coming out of Columbus, out of Augusta, out of Atlanta to join in this march for justice and to support our brother. But when we support him, we really are supporting ourselves. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Sister Kesha, and for Brother Julius, for you all providing an independent Black media outlet that can allow us to share what's going on with this great tragedy.
Thank you. Brooke, tell us, sir, tell us what you're hoping for during this march and what you will be thinking about during this march, and then end with something about your dad.
This is something that obviously is localized and affects our community, our Black and Brown communities directly. Um, we've been dealing with this for way too long. Some words were spoken earlier that we are going back to methods of old because we are dealing with issues of old. They haven't gone away. They have been sidelined for too long, and now they have become so apparent and egregious. We have to speak louder and louder in order to get the recognition that we need. And I hope that the amplification of this message and this cause through your platform and through others will reach not only our own community but other communities. Because, like you said, it's hard for some to understand those types of struggles and these pressures that we face in everyday life simply because they don't have to deal with them. But hopefully they will hear our voices and be able to somehow internalize them so that they can find means to make changes in our society for the better. My father was, like I said, he was a gentleman. Loved dogs, loved cars, loved his family. He's a real cool brother, the kind of cat that, when you get to the cookout, that's where you want to be at. You're gonna pull up a chair next to him, you know. You're gonna chop it up a little bit, get the goods, you know. He's gonna share a few stories, to impart on you to help you with whatever struggles you might be going through. And you take that away with you with a little bit more life in you. That was the type of man he was. He would offer everything he had. And we'll miss him every day.
Tell us how many children, grandchildren?
Two. He has two grandchildren. I'm his only child. And I have one of each, little boy and a little girl. And all the memories, poolside, barbecues, soccer games, none of those memories can be generated now with him.
And how old are your children?
Our children are 8 and 5.
So I'm sure this is really hard on them.
They are. I am trying to impart on them in the best way that I can the love that he had for them in his absence. And that is the hardest part.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it was important for me, Mr. Bacon, to oblige you all on this platform tonight, because there are so many people who do not know that this happened a year and a month ago. And it is widely reported, as so much foolishness is, as I opened my show with, um, I don't recall this being reported as widely as it could have been here in Savannah. And so now the reactionary approach to the media is to sort of get on board and, get a clue and get the news out. But I just want to caution you in allowing anyone to commercialize, politicize, or pimp your hurt. Continue to honor your dad's life and legacy with dignity, sir. I appreciate you tonight.
And I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
Attorney Davis,
Thank you.
we want to thank you for the important work that you do in this community. Without firms like yours, uh, the unfortunate circumstances that Mr. Bacon is facing probably would not see the light of day.
Well,
And
we
so we
we're
regret that your service is necessary, but we are grateful for it.
no, and we're honored. We love Savannah. We love um, Statesboro. We love Georgia. Our law partner Francis Johnson grew up in Scriven County, and for this to happen in his home county has been heartbreaking. But we're grateful that you all have provided this platform, and we look forward to seeing you all at some point during the march, and definitely as we enter the city of Savannah, and continue to lift up Mr. Lewis's name.
Certainly, sir. And if there's ever anything I can do to provide assistance beyond being a part of this, please do not hesitate to call on me. And Mr. Bacon, again, blessings to you and your family.
Thank you very kindly.
Again,
Thank you. Good night.
thank you. And good night, Savannah. I love you.